and thank you so much for having me today at BookFest. So, I am here to talk about the future of publishing. But in order to do that, first, we have to talk about the past. So, let's talk first about how publishing used to be. So, we all think about, or we've all known people to talk wistfully about the good old days of publishing. But what does that really mean? Well, frankly, before World War One, definitely before World War Two, but roughly before World War One as well, publishing books was something only aristocrats could do. It was a thing that if you didn't need the money, you could make money from books or you could write books. But really, it wasn't something that was open to the everyday person. After World War One, but really after World War Two, with the introduction of pulps, you could start making a living. Like it was possible to make a living. But in order to do that, you had to live in New York, LA, London, Paris, or a couple of other hubs around the world. Then, with the introduction of Kindle, and especially with the introduction of Kindle Unlimited, it started to become possible as long as you worked inside the KU model. So the Kindle Unlimited model is very specific. The kinds of books that it likes is very specific. But if you could hit all of those tropes, if you could write a book a month, if you could follow the trends, if you could do all of that stuff, then you could be a successful author. And that lasted, well, I mean, it didn't last really for most people, even from the beginning. And that's the real crux of this is it used to be, even in the quote unquote good old days, it used to be only open to a very, very small sliver of people, either people that were chosen by publishers, by editors, or by the Kindle algorithm. And those days really lasted up until right before or around, but I'm going to see the pandemic. During the pandemic, and since the pandemic, it's gotten harder and harder to make money in KU even, and and easier to make money all over from all sorts of other ways. And it's been to the point now that whether you're wide in KU with a publisher, there are ways for anyone to make a living from almost anywhere in the world. You can be an author living in a small town in Missouri or rural France or even Nigeria or sub-Saharan Africa. And basically, that is where we stand right now. So the history of publishing has gotten less and less elite as time has gone on, until the point now where you literally can make a difference and make a living from anywhere in a myriad, thousands of different ways. And the good part of that is you can do a whole lot of things to get ahead. The bad part, of course, is that you can do just about anything to get ahead. And that leaves a lot of overwhelm. What I find when I talk to authors all over the world is that they are overwhelmed by choice. And it's very, very, very common to be overwhelmed in the publishing industry as it is today, because not only are there 1,000 ways to make money, but there are 1,000 platforms to check out, and everyone's telling you that they're making money X, Y, and Z way, and you feel like you're pulled in a million directions. That said, the future is really about choice. And I see it, and we see at Writer MBA, a myriad of choices that you have to make, from being wide or being in KU and Kindle Unlimited. And then also the biggest opportunity is going direct to readers, having your own pipeline, having your own website. And we believe that opportunity exists over 5 quadrants: crowdfunding on places like Kickstarter, subscriptions on places like Substack, Ream, Patreon, or another coffee, buy me a coffee, a subscription platform like that. Conventions, where you're either making your own convention or going to conventions around to meet people face to face, landing pages, and then website sales in your web store. So across either KU or wide, and then across many platforms on those 5 modalities, there are ways to make money and make a living on a myriad of them. In fact, I make a living not being on retailers hardly at all. My comics are on retailers, my nonfictions are on retailers, but I am almost exclusively direct to readers on all of my fiction books. And I still make 99% of my money not on retailers, even for the stuff that is on retailers. That said, that opportunity, which is so huge right now, leads to a huge overwhelm, because it used to be the methodology was, if you were in traditional publishing, get an agent. If you were indie publishing, go into KU, basically. And then it became, well, even if you're traditionally published, you still need to be indie published. If you are indie published, maybe you want to be hybrid. Do you go into KU, or do you go onto the wide retailers, Barnes & Noble, Apple, all of those things? And then it's recently become, well, what you really want is to control your own pipeline and have control directly of the customer data and the transaction data of the people who buy from you. And so all of that has led to an explosion of choices, and you can choose any of those. I can tell you people who were super successful using any of the models that I talked about above, and who have tried those models and failed spectacularly at them. For myself, subscriptions has always been a problem for me until I found Substack, and then that worked for me. So a lot of this is choice, and most importantly, it's about customized, individualized marketing that resonates with your natural tendencies. What we find at Writer MBA and through our author ecosystem archetyping system is that everyone has natural tendencies that lead them to have success in different ways. And we have found 5 modalities, one of which hopefully will resonate with you. So, for instance, if you love optimizations, if you are one who can find a trend and like get in there really quickly before demand outstrips supply, you might do really well in KU. You might do really great running ads. You might be able to optimize everything so that you can make a profit in the narrow margin between supply and demand. We call that arbitrage. And that is a valid way to make business. We expect somewhere around 40% of people are really great at that. Or maybe you like going really deep. Maybe you like going deep into a topic. Maybe you plan to have a 50-book series, or you love talking about whales, or you love talking about something in the nonfiction space. You love talking about your city. Well, you might have more success in doing content marketing. You might find more success on Substack or writing a long series, certainly wide. My business partner calls this putting pennies in the bank, writing these articles all over the place, having all of these ways into your universe, and then collecting them over time. Or you might be really great at live launching. This is me. I build excitement. I love stacking tropes on top of each other. I love pulling back the rubber band and then hitting launch and having all of that snap forward. So for me, my ideal platform is Kickstarter. And you can see that in our Get Your Book Selling on Kickstarter. Our most successful course is a Kickstarter course. The thing that I talk about most, the thing that I understand in the most depth and intuitively is Kickstarter. And that might work for you. Or you might be really huge on community. And then you would look at Circle or Patreon or Ream. If you love showering love on your fans, if you love doing like extra stuff for them, you might do great in a membership community. Or you might think of yourself as a brand manager. You might say, "Oh, well, the books are great, but really I want a movie, I want a TV show, I want an RPG, I want all of these things," and find pocket of readers and fans in all of these different modalities. There are successful authors that do each of these things. And the one thing that I have found across all of them, across all authors, is that they all build their business differently. Yes, they have certain things that are common amongst them. For instance, they write books, they have an email list. But how they actually make money varies wildly among them. And you have that option too. You really, 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 really can do it. It is possible. Will it be the way you think? Maybe, probably not. Will you have to do a whole lot more than maybe you thought you had to do 5 years ago? Yes, probably. But the way that the system was set up was broken for most authors. What you hear are the people who were successful and that it worked for. But the vast majority of authors, it did not work for. If you were not an aristocrat, you could basically not make a living in publishing before the 1940s. If you lived somewhere outside of a main hub, you could not make a living before the invent of Kindle, pretty much. If you did not write to algorithms, you were probably not going to have success in KU. And in all of those things, there was a group of people that succeeded, but a large group of people who were left behind. And now the advantage is there are options for everyone. You just have to find them. It's never been easier and it's never been harder.